having meetings and very interesting discussions with our scientific advisory board. Now is the time for them to give us their recommendations, and you will have also time, we will have time for an open discussion. I would like to ask Isabel Cacho, who is the chairperson of the of our SAP this year. You all know her, but she's a professor at the University of Barcelona in paleoceanography. Isabel, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much. First of all, I want to tell you that it has been a great pleasure for me and for all the members of the SAF to be these 2 intensive days here, listening all your achievements during the last few years and also your plans for the future. I have to confess that has been extremely intensive, which is good, but has been a hard job for us to assimilate all the information that you were providing. And we need a bit more of time probably to process everything. And also we have a bit of short time to discuss within the committee. So now a bit we are improvising some of the highlights that we want to provide you. But of course, we will need a few more days or a week to produce more a formal report where we'll summarize everything that we feel like. So this is just like a first attempt to trying to give you the feedback. And I will try to point the main things, but I have to confess that it's everything notes from everyone. Michael will also assist me with what I might forget. And of course, all the other members from the staff which are here, please add whatever I forget. First of all, I wanted to say that our evaluation, if we can call evaluation, because but our impression, well, we are very, very well impressed, very positively, of what you have achieved in this time. For those members that we came in the very first meeting to hear, there has been a massive change of the institute, of course, in the image, but also we can see in the way you are performing, in the way you are engaged with the idea of an institute that belongs to all of you. So I think that you have done a major effort, and we want to congratulate you. And also you are also doing a good job trying to see how reinvent yourself for the next proposal and trying to identify your weakness and your strengths. So we want to congratulate you. And well, it was a bit hard job for us to find weakness or things that we can come with ideas, but I think that we can try to help you in this sense. And we will start with a very general approach in which you define the themes of the research you are producing. And here I have to confess that we don't have a unique view within the committee. We don't have it. Some of us consider that you have to keep going on with the structure we have for the first call, which is this structure in climate, ocean, and hazards. So, because we are aware that it was quite difficult to organize all the science in this diagram, and some of us believe that you should stick with the structure, but some other of us has a completely different opinion. From some way, there are 2 main worries regarding this structure. One is that some of us have the feeling that it doesn't capture part of the basic science that is produced in the institute. And that even though it's very important, this applied science and the direct service to society, but our research center as the institute can't forget about this core science or basic science, which is a value that you have. So some of us believes that probably this structure is missing some of this important part of the basic science. And the other worry about this structure is that it's very unbalanced in the weight of the 3 themes, no? Because climate is extremely general, life of course, as well, and there's kind of hazards, which is like very, very specific. We found that it's a bit unbalanced. So we let you, I mean, you have to build yourself at the end of the day. We only can give you opinions, and we will work more on this, and probably with some more specific suggestions that came out very interesting within us. But at the end of the day, it's your job to decide how you want to sell your image in the first call. What else? Strengths and weakness. No. What was, Marta, what you asked? Unique. Unique. It's difficult. We don't have the solution, I tell you. But of course, you have this, your performance, your productivity, your scientific record is excellent. I'm not sure where I am. Your unique is multidisciplinarity. Of course, is you already know it, is your good, your strength, probably your unique. So it's probably, is what you need to develop. I'm not good in reading and explaining, sorry. So I think we mentioned that you are very good in multidisciplinarity, but you are not so good in interdisciplinarity. You have done some progress, but you need to perform it better. We don't have the solution, but I think there was some very interesting ideas within our discussion that I think that you could consider to identify like big questions, challenges that can be addressed from a multidisciplinarity approach. Like we were talking about canyons, that different disciplines can look to this subject can approach this subject from different disciplines, or probably regional challengers in areas, Mediterranean, polar areas, and regions. So probably identify big challengers can be approached taking the benefit of the interdisciplinarity that you have within the institute, and trying to stimulate them in some way with some of the funding to bring the different specialties which are within the institute to collaborate and trying to build. I have to say that we also have the impression, for instance, in the postdocs, the young researchers have done, I think, a big effort to organize themselves. They have started to communicate a lot, and I think that they are doing very well, starting point of this interdisciplinarity. But I think probably the researchers, you need to do an extra effort, the researchers. Potentially with seminars, we were mentioning seminars that tackle more broader subjects, not very specific subjects, more broader, where more researchers can be interested, even technicians, not to the technician subject, but trying to find other tools to work better this interdisciplinarity. About the transdisciplinarity, which is just going through subjects which you don't have in the institute. So probably it's better, our recommendation would be to use other institutions around. You have already started to do an effort, but it would be the recommendation to use what is already probably feasible, available there. Yeah. We were concerned as well. There are some key disciplines areas that probably you don't have strength, or you are losing because retirements, and you mentioned to us these different approaches, bottom up, top up. I think we believe that both approaches are needed. In some disciplines, for instance, several members of the staff, they were worried about oceanography, physical oceanography. I was a bit of surprise that the probably is a bit you're losing the capability. I think we believe that not only because physical oceanography, there are so many disciplines, biology, chemistry, that they need this physical oceanography. That's so you should trying to push as well some of the disciplines with phytoplankton or some of the other disciplines you should consider. But we believe that two approaches sometimes are needed. And probably when you consider to promote in some way reinforce these disciplines, you should also trying to do from this interdisciplinary perspective, trying to bring scientists that already have a bit of interdisciplinarity perspective in those disciplines, and trying to in that way. Yes, recommendations. I may be mixing everything, but yeah. Better cross-discipline, important resources. Yeah, one comment on the metrics. You have shown us that you are performing, you have improved in the number of publications, in the quality of some of them, but also you have increased in the number of researchers. So in some way, metrics should be also, you should explore, like normalize the metrics for the number of scientists is one thing that can be criticized in the proposal. You should look at that. Yeah, international players. We are aware that at the moment, still not much, you are not yet a very international institute in terms of the nationality of the origin of the researchers. We know that you have done an effort with the ICM positions and they was not successful. We want to encourage you to trying to increase your chances of success for these calls. And one of the suggestions we have for that is that you probably could encourage to have international professors, researchers here with a sabbatic, trying to use some of the budget you might have from the Severo Ochoa to offer some sort of help, fellowship, or partial salary for them to be easy to come from families and stay a few months here. So in that way, trying to identify potential good candidates for these calls. And that will be one of the suggestions we have. Yeah. On the knowledge communication, you are doing a major effort and I would say a big apuesta, I don't know the term, bet, a big bet for the next call. One of the things worry us is your capability of the scientists to afford all this communication effort. You have to find the equilibrium to be active communication because we agree this is very interesting, but also you want to keep the excellence of science. So whether you have to explore whether you are capable to keep these two activities, whether to which extent your researchers have the availability or the commitment to keep all the needs that you may have to cover this effort. Probably you should do an effort to hire some specialists on these matters as well. Of course, communication is not a scientific field, is human from other careers, so probably you need the help from some professionals in this field. So what is a bit as what is the load that I can have within the scientific? I think that for all of scientists, we should do some outreach. It's important for us, but it's the level of outreach is always difficult, and there is not a unique balance. Each one is different, but you have to be aware of that. And also one thing that worries us is the way that this communication part might have in the proposal for the Severo Ochoa to make sure that it's well evaluated. We see that you are doing a big effort, but we will recommend you that you approach the office and you are sure that this is going to be well regarded, very well evaluated, to make sure that you don't fail putting too much of your stress in this part, which we believe is important and is relevant, is how the society is moving. But make sure that that this is going to be well received and well evaluated by the agency. Yeah, you have showed to us today a very large list of initiatives for the future, which we were not able to process everything. We have to confess, it's difficult for us to come now for specifics. But also we got the feeling that this is work in process. Well, you told to us. We wonder with it also that probably you should make sure that the members of the institute also go through this list, and you internally identify what you believe should be your priority. Not only us, we can try also to look at that we might need the material you have used for the presentations in order to read that with more time. But I think it's important as well. We believe that it's important that the members of the institute also have the opportunity to give an opinion of where they believe that they should put the strength. Yeah, yeah, there was also in the internationalization issue. One of the mentions was trying to be like a center from northern countries. Two of the proposals that came out within the South was probably trying to play a role within the South American, Central American countries, to trying to make a sort of hub within the oceanographical centers from these countries, because here you have something which is unique probably to offer them. But also some of us recognize your role in the Mediterranean, and probably within the Mediterranean also you have a role to play, even though that you are not so unique. There is other institutions and they has other international efforts trying to build bridges within the Mediterranean. So here probably you are not so unique, but you have a strong weight here. So probably you have to explore how to locate you within this frame. Yeah. One of the other issues that we have identified, and I think you know very well as well, that so far you have a bit failed trying to make it to improve the involvement into the project of the institute, is the technician staff. We know that you have implemented some calls, thinking on them. But it has been a bit obvious to us that there is still these calls probably have not been successful for different reasons. One of the reasons that you have in some way explained to us is that the technician community in some way is doesn't have a unique pattern, or is heterogeneous. There is a diversity in the nature of the technician. So that means that probably a unique solution doesn't exist, because the ambitions, the needs, or the frustrations of each of the technicians is different. So we believe that you need to do an extra effort in this front, trying to probably identify what is the variety of this population, and for that reason also the variety of needs and measures that can be implemented. We see that overall there is a frustration because the system, there is a part that you cannot handle because it's out of your possibilities, the system itself and the sort of contracts and the sort of promotions, that is not possible. but then trying to identify within the institute sometimes simple things and trying to get them more involved in the science, trying to find that they are more a protagonist in some way, to make sure that some of the decisions taken, particularly those decisions that affect them, that they can transfer more the opinion, trying to work more in some sort of representation from this community in some of the panels, probably. Also when the spaces or some things that can affect them are considered, trying to involve them. And sometimes involved doesn't mean that whatever they say they have to be implemented, but well, has to be considered and balanced within the other needs or situations, but trying to actively make them more part of the project of the institute. And the problem, it seems to be that they are really very different within them. They are quite a big group, it's around 100 people. It's 1/3 of the institute, so it's a very important community within the institute, but it seems to be very, very heterogeneous. So you have to deal with this heterogeneity in some way. That's it? Yeah. I'm sure anything like, I'm sure there are more things, but
does anybody else from the Scientific Advisory Committee comment on that? Maybe people from home, Karen, Aida, you're fine? Because otherwise, maybe we can open the floor for discussion. Yeah? Okay. Any questions, any comments? Otherwise...
First of all, thank you very much. It has been really a pleasure having you here. We know it's an effort. It has been 2 very intense days, also for us, but we are supposed to do this, and you have offered to do this, and we are really very happy to see that you are involved and you are part of our institute, and this is something that I think you should believe. You are part of our institute. You count you as part of our institute, and you will notice it in the months to come. So we will take very seriously all the things that you have done. We need to digest it because there are several basic things that maybe make us think a little bit about how to orient the new Severo Ochoa, but everything is really interesting for us. And I have one fast question, because we have had a meeting now with Cristina from the La Agencia Española de Investigación, so the people that funds the Severo Ochoa, and it has been a comment that I go to the beginning of the first meeting we had in the committee. The ones that were here 4 years ago will remember that say, don't you think that this organization in 4 departments, which are very thematic, it's at odds with this idea of transdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity? All the groups are in departments, in fact, and these departments are biology, geology, blah, blah, and this is something that it doesn't seem to be very well suited for the. So our point is, it's something to think about for the next meetings, and so I don't know if you have a feeling just like out of the blue now, but it's something that I think we as Institute have to consider, if it's something that it's good for us, or we have to rethink a little bit this structure in departments so that it's easier to explain that we are multidisciplinary, want to go to the transdisciplinarity in departments and groups, and this it was last. But thank you very much.
Okay, regarding this department, we haven't discussed on that, but I think at the end of the day, the departments is a tool to work. So I think that you should think about how you. No. It depends on the position. Hola? Sí. I think you have to find a way how your work is going to be more efficient or how you are going to work better. So departments is a tool to work. So sometimes to make that this working structure is similar to your theme structure, probably helps, but probably not. Probably not. So I think one thing is how you are going to work easier. Another thing is how you are going to organize your science, and particularly your outside image. But what is true that these two structures sometimes, when you go to the website, confuse a bit.
Yeah, this is what
That confused, because that happens to me. I mean, you go from one way and you end for, but I think the decision is what is the image you are providing outside, and then what is the efficient way to work the day-to-day inside, and where is the limit of these two structures? It's just one thing to think.
It's not the moment to discuss it because. Sorry.
If may I can tell you that in the Italian CNR, they also decide to do Earth observation, and so they decide not to stay into these disciplines, and at the end it doesn't work very well, because it's like because you need a family in which they speak the same language. Then you need to force them to collaborate with other families on specific projects. But just to mix up the families doesn't create the they are speaking different language, what is or they have different expertise. So my experience coming with the CNR is, for example, they put this Earth observation system. There can be oceanographers, geologists, biologists doing habitat mapping and so on. But by the end, they're always biologists or always the oceanographer. So, but as Isabel said, that is a working tool. So it depends on you. But my experience with the CNR was not very good.
I don't want to concentrate the discussion on this. It's something that appeared, and it's something that we thought that in other occasion, and it's something to think about. I agree.
Yeah, thank you very much for all your input, and we appreciate all the suggestions and that you may give us. Regarding the comment that you made about the efforts on communication, it is true what you mentioned, that either we associate with the special institutes related to social science, or we do maybe a different way, how to try to do it. But on the specific aspects of how to increase the knowledge transfer mentality among the researchers, we would like to very much to have some insights on that aspect, because we feel that this is one of the major issues we're facing in this institute. And also, we don't mention that maybe, but the increase of funding from the private sector too.
Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, I just wanted to say that these processes can sound critical, but actually there were lots of positive comments made in the Science Advisory Board, and this is the first time in 20 years since I was last here. So I can see the enormous journey that this institution has come on, and the things that you're implementing, so your sort of gender and equality initiative, really fantastic, and clearly leading ahead of other institutions in Spain. And I think this is something that I want people here to understand, that we need to view the progress of ICM in the context of Spain. You're not in the context of the UK or Holland or Germany, but within the context of Spain, you have all the bureaucracy, the administration, and these things fight against you, but you've achieved many, really good things. So that's very good. I think one of the key, just very quickly on the knowledge exchange, this is something where Severo Ochoa is a real opportunity for you to have additional funds to bring in specialists who deal with knowledge exchange. In other words, people from the industry sector who can work with you to basically help you translate your science into products and partnerships with business and other enterprises. that you need specialists. That's not someone who's a scientist to do that. You need to bring in a specialist, and that needs funding. The one big key issue I think that the SAB identified was the real need to identify the big scientific questions. So if you like, so you were touching on this before, this is like, we want to create, so here you are in the institution, some of you are geologists, some of you are biologists, so it's like a bunch of cooks. Some of you specialize in patisserie, some of you specialize in sauces, some of you are, you know, dealing with the sommelier, the wine, and so on and so forth. But we all focus on the dinner party, right? So we all bring a different skill to the dinner party, and it's the dinner party that is the big thing. And then we can invite others to the dinner party as well, but we all have different skills. So the dinner party is the big question. What is the big question? Could be canyons, but I think actually, to me, you didn't make much of it, but this sustainable ocean cities, to my mind, is the perfect big topic around which all staff in this institute have something to contribute. And also, your business partners in the local region have something to contribute, and they will tell you what they actually need. So immediately that provides you with a platform to engage with business, with government, with other institutions more broadly, and you can become the focus and the hub for that. Now the problem is, if you wait for a funding call, you will not be ready to bid for it. So where you need to invest your time and energy and money is in bringing people together to focus on a question like that and develop a pre-proposal, develop your idea in advance. Doesn't matter that there isn't a call, you know this is important. You can then cut it up into smaller pieces for smaller amounts of funding, or you can repackage the whole thing into a massive proposal for 20 million euros. If you do that, then you're prepared, you're ready, you're ahead of the pack, you're leading the discussion, you're driving the science forward and the focus on the solutions. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much.
Hello, I haven't been involved, yeah, it's working, in these past 2 days, in this exercise, but something that I see is that one thing that limits a lot our productivity and excellence is the bureaucracy and all the administration part, because we spend so many hours doing that. So I wonder whether within this type of course, it would be possible to consider that and to implement, because I don't know if you have discussed this previously or not, but to implement something directed to optimize internally all those processes, because I am sure that with that the productivity will will go up so fast, because I don't know how many hours for example, I don't have a permanent position, but I spend half of my day just signing papers and doing those kinds of things. So for me, it would be extremely important to try to, as an institute, to try to improve that. Internally, we know that the system is extremely complex and we are required to do so many things, but I don't know if it would be possible to include something like that. So optimize it somehow, software, I don't know, something internally that would make this process agile internally, because this would save us so much time to just think about, do research, which is what we are paid for, and we cannot do. So I just wanted to comment on that. And also regarding the internationalization, we have many limitations for bringing people. It is very difficult. We have problems with equivalence of titles, and hiring people from abroad, it's a nightmare. So I think just also putting the focus there would make this much more efficient. So this is just one thought. And I don't know who wants to.
Taking your comment about the big questions, Michelle, and also in the umbrella of sustainability, one big question before that, maybe I was thinking for, is the carbon cycle in terms of carbon pump, no? Because usually most of the approaches consider primary production and export, no? And then all the things that are in between, like fishes and so on, are kind of, there are some papers about that, but mostly ignored. and there is, I think it's an effort what happens in between the primary production and the export. This is one. And also the integration, real integration in the carbon pump and all the carbon cycle with physics, chemistry, and biology, and all kind of biology. I think it's something that in the Institute we have experts enough to do it. It will be the basis for then go to the sustainability of the ocean. And I don't know how you could see this big question, I don't know.
Thank you. When you mentioned that the young researchers try to talk to each other and build up this kind of intercommunity, I think the older ones, we are missing that. We are all a bit selfish. We want to promote our lines, we want to build up our, somehow, ego. And we don't think about that maybe we could talk to another colleague and collaborate. So I really am pleased the young ones are doing the right thing.
Yes, I just would like to comment on, add something to what Clara just said. I believe that, and it's mainly, I think, my fault, that after these 2 days, I think that the big forgotten thing here is administration, because we haven't talked about this. I had the chance yesterday to talk a little bit with some of you at the dinner, and we have increased everything, and we have not increased, or just only a few, the administration positions. And this is something that we are working hard to improve the processes. It's very difficult sometimes because we have like dynamics that are very difficult to change, and we have managed somehow to hire people for the administration, which is very difficult, and I mean, which is not possible, in fact, and we have managed to do it. But this is also a demand for the agency, for the Spanish Research Agency, because when you give an accreditation like this one, should bring also the possibility to hire people to manage, and not only manage projects and like professional project managers that, or people for technology transfer, but also for administration, because traveling increased a lot, and we have to deal with lots of purchases that before we didn't, and we have to multiply the financial reporting, so everything gets bigger and bigger, and we don't have the staff to deal with it. So for you, it's difficult, but for us as well. So I think that if this kind of projects come with the possibility, at least the possibility to hire strictly administrative staff, which isn't, then maybe things would be a little different. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
¿Quieres decir algo, no? Sí. Que contesta.
Thank you. I will only wanted to say that there is no inconvenience from the Severo Ochoa to to hire any type of personnel. Provided that it is included in the strategic plan, of course, but there is no inconvenience. Maybe the SSIC have an inconvenience, but not for the side of the Severo Ochoa program.
I think we have to take this into account in the new proposal, that's for sure.
Hi, I just wanted to mention about the tools like ChatGPT or this transformation that it's affecting all of, or will affect our lives. I don't know if there's any tip regarding this issue in terms of science production in the next following years, because I think it's going to be a big issue, and maybe in the institute we should start setting up some strategy on how to face this transformation. And I was just curious.
That's an issue to take into account. We are already trying to write a paper with it and see what happens.
Okay, we have talked about people, scientists, technicians, young researchers, and also about the knowledge. But I would like to know the opinion about the infrastructure, about the labs that we have at the Institute. Do you think that we have to make a greater effort in order to be a reference with respect to other marine institutes?
I think you can answer or you can write it down for your report. That's two alternatives that you have. Wait. Say that again for the people who's not following.
So I think at this stage we cannot give you feedback because we did not see all the labs. We only saw a few infrastructures yesterday for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. So I think for that, maybe that can be on the point for our next visit, to have a more in-depth view of the infrastructures and the labs that you have at the ICM. But we will put it certainly on the mark. Before we did some comments on the infrastructures, that, but we will develop a bit more and put in the report, the formal report on that. But yeah.
And could be, as you say, could be an issue for next year's visit. Yeah.
I just would like to have your opinion, also the opinion from the agency. Following what Michael said before, that this has been for the last years, and it's been one of the strategic axes for our center, to have social commitment, to have a science that has an impact on society. Of course, we want to keep going, doing excellent science, and I think we are doing good in that, and also we want to have the best possible talent and support them in their career, either inside our institute or away, or in the industry, But we want, and I think this is also really something that is calling society bottom up, but it's also opportunities, many opportunities emerging top down. We want to have this science being transformative, being really collaborative, inclusive, and all these concepts that you were saying. So my specific question, for me it's extremely clear, and I think it's very clear for the current directorate and for many people here in the institute, but how sensible will be evaluators, and how sensible will be the agency to having this as one of the main axes, and really expressing that it's an enabler for doing the best possible transformative science, and that this doesn't fall away from perhaps traditional views of what science has to be. We want this science to have this impact, and I think we want to place lots of emphasis, lots of money, lots of ideas into this axis, but we don't want it to be badly evaluated by traditional evaluators that feel that this is perhaps outside what excellent science has to be. So this is a little bit of a situation that we want to make the change, but we don't want to be badly evaluated. So if you have any ideas on this, that would be great. Thank
you. Yeah. Well, first of all, you should have into account that this is a holistic program. So you have to take or to approach all of the aspects of what it should be a strategic plan, a holistic strategic plan. So you cannot forget that thing. Having said that, the social impact of the program, and also the program is basic science oriented. So you cannot forget that, you cannot avoid this aspect. But having said that, the social impact, or the social influence of the science you made is of course well considered, and it is an objective you should take into account. So it is really, it will be well seen and well validated. And the agency does not evaluate the proposal. We have a set of international experts, prestigious international experts, but we, of course, design the rules. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We are over the time, so if somebody wants to say the last thing, well, a one to last thing rather than the last thing, we'll give it the mic to him. So let me just collect other words.
No, just very rapidly, I think we all are completely convinced that the science you're doing is excellent here at the ICM. So the step you're making for the next one, the next Severo Ochoa, opening the science to the public, is very courageous. It's my opinion. I don't know if we all agree on this, but it's my opinion. It's very courageous, and I think it's really what we need to do as scientists. But the question I have is, can you keep the top level of science and do also this sharing your science with the public and doing all the transfer knowledge? It's a different way, it's a different job. We don't know to do it unless we want to be trained for that. So I see a little bit of, not a threat, but it's the ICM committed to do this. And are you accepting that maybe you're writing a few less papers because you spend time to do this? So this is something that you may just want to think about. Okay.
Yeah, so I think we need to break away from the idea that we do science, and then when it comes to engagement with wider society, we then hand that to a bunch of other people who go out and put some aquaria on the seafront outside the laboratory and talk to little children and their parents. That whole area of translation of science into impact and understanding is a research area in its own right. So a big multidisciplinary project I'm running at the moment, I have employed a social anthropologist. Basically, we hand over the complicated physical oceanography models to her. She then uses them to help communities understand how coastal flow delivers plastic onto their beaches and what the consequence of that is. But she's also researching at the same time what's the best way to communicate with those communities. Are there some ways more effective than others? So I think we need to break away from this mindset that communication is not necessarily also fundamentally part of the research in its own right as well. But of course, a very efficient way of sort of going out to the wider world is to hire in media specialists who are professionals in writing articles that are 300 words long, unlike the normal articles that we write. Yeah. So that's better for them, and it's a better use of our money.
Okay, so with that, I leave the director to close the session.
Okay, so the session is closed. No. Okay, so thanks again. It's been a pleasure again. So we have, for those who are having lunch now, we have a table here so we can meet at the front door. And see you soon, I hope, to all of you. I hope also with Ida, with Karen, with Deborah here, it will be a pleasure to be all of us here. It will be even easier also to see our faces for the discussions and this. So you are all welcome. Thank you very much to be here for this couple of days, and I hope you will enjoy you have enjoyed and you will enjoy the hours, the next hour. Thank you.
Thank you.